My name is Ricardo Aqua. I am from Puebla, Mexico, and I work in the Trump Soho building.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're sending people that have lots of problems. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
I've worked at the Trump Soho for the past 2 years. I'm a busser at the only restaurant in the hotel. This is not what I plan on doing with my life, but I work really hard and I definitely don't take it for granted.
Are you a criminal?
I am not a criminal. Not a drug dealer. Definitely not a rapist. I'm an undocumented immigrant. I was about 14 when I crossed the border. I came here with my family, my stepfather, my mom, and my sister. We live in Bushwick, Brooklyn. We've lived here for the last 9, almost 10 years. This is where I went to high school. This is where all of my friends are. It's home to me. I feel like Republicans think Mexicans are lazy. But I personally work 3 jobs. My stepfather works 2 jobs. Everything that my family has, like, we have earned it by working. We came to America because we wanted a better life. My mom was able to put me and my sister through college, which I'm not so sure if in Mexico I would have been able to do that. I received my associate's degree in commercial photography. It's something that I've always had an eye for and that I think I'm really good at. I'm very passionate about it. It also gives me a voice. I can't vote, but I can take photos and share the stories of people like me. You know, Trump keeps pointing out all these immigrants that have done all these terrible things. But those aren't the immigrants that I know. That's not what we're like. And photography is a way for me to show that. Other Republicans have criticized Trump's comments, but to me they all seem to have the same position on immigration. I mean, I may have an accent, but I'm not stupid. And I know I could lose my job just for talking about Trump, but it doesn't make me proud to go to work every day under his name. I don't think the rest of America feels the same way that he does. I hope that they don't. I love it here. I love New York City. I feel as much part of this country as anybody else, but I'm also proud to be Mexican.
Saying that it's not enough, somebody can do something else to get around it is more excuse not to try to do something.
Are you sure it's bad for the government to do nothing? Everything the government does costs me money. Now, another gun-related question for you, Mr.
Yes.
Merrifield. I understand your office supports CRS 1812, the magazine restrictions?
Yes, we did.
So what do you guys think, or what do you personally think should happen to, like, say, a young lady who's being chased by 16 attackers and she pulls out a high-cap mag and shoots 16 rounds? What should happen to her?
16 attackers, so that's a heck of a hypothetical. I'm not really sure how to handle that.
Well, say she's a bad shot and there are 5 attackers and
because
she
I'm
needs
hearing
3
that,
shots.
I'm picturing a Mad Max movie. You know, something post-apocalyptic with 16 attackers. Personally, I can't speak for myself. I can only speak for my office, and where I can say that yes, we did support that bill. That's the only comment I can give.
How difficult has that been for you personally? I mean, you must have friends that are gun owners and want to have bigger mags.
Generally speaking, most of my friends who are gun owners don't need that 16th round.
I've had a little trouble, you know, putting that many into my Glock. You know, it never seems to, the mags always seem to be 15 or less.
Right.
But you know, it's a basic human right. There's no active aggression by having an extra round or 2 in the mag.
Right. Probably the best way I can put it personally is if it saves one life, if having that one less round saves one child at a school when a gunman walks in because he's having to reload, then to me it's worth it.
Well, seriously, how many gunmen, murderers do you know who are interested in what the law is on mags? Aren't they just going to go to Wyoming and get a bigger one?
We have to start somewhere. Saying that,
do we?
Absolutely. Saying that we can do nothing is a very poor, saying that it's not enough, that somebody can do something else to get around it is a poor excuse not to try to do something.
Are you sure it's bad for the government to do nothing? Everything the government does costs me money.
Yeah, me too. Down to my last dollar. But yeah, that's all I got on that.
Okay, I appreciate, like as usual, I appreciate the open answers and dialogue.
If anyone survives, I'll tell them I couldn't have done it without you.
Well, there was this kid on 3rd Street who said he can tell me how much comics were worth. I figured if he could help me get them, maybe we could. Where are they? Where's my backpack? It was the setup. I got jacked. My dad's hat was in that bag. I'm sorry, I'll get you a new one. You gonna give me a new dad too? I'm sorry. I don't care. I hate you.
We're gonna get you all cleaned up, and then I'm gonna call the police, and you're gonna tell them everything that happened.
We need to get it back.
Dad's calling the police.
I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking about us. We could get it back.
We had talked about this.
We need to be heroes. Like Dad.
Being a hero is what got your father killed. Mel's gone. I'm sorry.
You all packed, Maya?
I tried to let you go the easy way. But you had to be persistent on taking my sister.
Gabriel. Gabriel.
I didn't hear your thought or anything. Is everything okay?
I have to talk to you. You were right.
about everything, about me, about Alejandro.
I never meant to come between you two.
He's my brother. I have to do what I can to protect him. In time, he will understand.
Of course he will.
And without you, I would still be somewhere in Mexico.
I just want to help you.
You have done that. And so much more.
Your mom said you're leaving tonight.
Flew in 20 stores. And stopped in the head. Crashed a car at 70 miles an hour. I've even been on fire. This hurts. More than any of that. But it's not getting better. I've always gotten better, no matter what, but this just keeps getting worse.
I can't stand to see you live like this.
Healthy. Not for long, as a man, but for my dad. His ability to erase people's memories.
Is your signal? So do you know signal? You can make me forget I ever had a father.
Are you gonna hang those in the window? How do you know he's gonna see them?
I don't know. I have to do
Oh, you don't want to forget your dad. Forgetting isn't the answer.
I just wish I could tell him how sorry I am. I look just like that.
I know what it's like to lose someone you love. Wish that you had a piece of them or something.
I'm here at anti-Columbus protest, and I'm here with a young lady, Iraqi lady. What's her name?
Noor Al-Jawad.
And why are you here today?
I'm here because I can relate because the Iraqis right now have been invaded by the United States, and the war has been going on for like 5 years now, and it's all for the resources that's underneath their feet, you know, the oil, and it's the same situation that the Indians faced back in 1492 and even before that with like the previous conquistadors. And so they subjugated the people, and they were forced to do things that they didn't want to, similar to Iraqis. Like there's prostitution now because they have no choice, and people joining Al-Qaeda because they offer them a salary. And so I can see like the colonial occupation is similar in a lot of ways. And to commemorate like Columbus for what he did would be like commemorating Bush for what he has done to Iraq. So that's why I'm here, because it's wrong.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This invasion, and the mission is something equivalent to basically a concentration camp. Here at this mission and other missions that were spread out throughout what's called California,
What did you want to know? Ironically, I was born a profligate myself, a citizen of the NCR. My family lived not far from the Great Boneyard. After raiders killed my father, my mother sought the followers' protection. I was 2 years old. She found work at their library, cooking and cleaning. I learned how to read, and soon I was taking courses, free of charge. Oh yes, raised in that tradition. And the teaching stuck. I was taught it was my responsibility to bring the torch of knowledge to the waste. I may have taken the torch part more literally than they intended. When I was 20, the followers sent me east to Grand Canyon. It was my first expedition. Just me and a physician named Calhoun. As an anthropologist and linguist, my assignment was to learn the dialects of the Grand Canyon tribes. What a fucking waste of time. If you think it's worthwhile to make smart people learn how to talk like backward savages, you're a follower of the apocalypse, or an idiot. Anyway, we met up with a Mormon missionary who already knew a bunch of dialects, Joshua Graham. He was supposed to teach me, but before that went too far, the Blackfoot tribe captured us to hold us for ransom. They were a backward bunch, but the real problem was they didn't know how to fight. The Blackfoot were at war with 7 other tribes, each just as pissant as they were. But outnumbered like that, they weren't going to last long. It's one thing to be taken hostage, another to be lashed to a sinking ship. So over Calhoun's objections, I decided to take certain steps. I taught them how to use the guns they already had, how to strip and clean them, how to breathe when pulling a trigger, how to reload ammunition. They looked at me like I was some kind of a sorcerer. So I taught them how to make explosives and started drilling them on small unit tactics. If there's anything I learned as a follower of the apocalypse, it's that there's a lot of good information in old books. Divide et impera, divide and conquer. I led the Blackfoot against the Ridgers, their weakest enemy. When they refused to surrender, I ordered every man, woman, and child killed. When next we surrounded the Kaibabs, and they likewise refused, I took one of their envoys to the Ridgers' village and showed him the corpse piles. This was new for the tribes, you see. They played at war, raiding each other, a little rape and pillage here, a little ransoming there. I showed them total warfare. Like I said, there's a lot you can learn from old books. Kaibabs joined me, and the Fredonians after that. All the pissant tribes with names that should be forgotten. I knew from the start I'd need to eradicate this plague of tribal identities, replacing them with a monolithic culture, a uniform identity. So that's what I did once my confederation of tribes was large enough. I crowned myself Caesar and created a single great tribe, my legion. I sent Calhoun, the follower captured with me, back west with a message that I should not be interfered with. Joshua Graham, the Mormon interpreter, stayed with me and served as my first legatus. That's right. Decades of warfare, absorbing lesser tribes, gathering power, forging the dross into a vast, razor-sharp scythe. My legion's expansion has never ceased. Much of the Utah and Colorado and all of Arizona and New Mexico are mine. We have cities of our own, but nothing compared to Vegas. Finally, my legion will have its Rome. What else did you want to know? I used Imperial Rome as the model for my legion precisely because it was so foreign, so alien. I'd seen what had become of the NCR's attempts to emulate the culture of pre-war America, the infighting, the corruption. Rome was a highly militarized autocracy that effectively integrated the foreign cultures it conquered. It dedicated its citizens to something higher than themselves, to the idea of Rome itself. In Rome, I found a template for a society equal to the challenges of the post-apocalyptic world, a society that could and would survive, a society that could prevent mankind from fracturing and destroying itself in this new world by establishing a new Pax Romana. It means a nationalist, imperialist, totalitarian, homogenous culture that obliterates the identity of every group it conquers. Long-term stability at all cost. The individual has no value beyond his utility to the state, whether as an instrument of war or production. No, I'll destroy it because it's inevitable that it be destroyed. It's Hegelian dialectics, not personal animosity. How do I put this basically enough? It's a philosophical theory, the kind you might encounter if you took time to read some books. The fundamental premise is to envision history as a sequence of dialectical conflicts. Each dialectic begins with a proposition, a thesis, which inherently contains or creates its opposite, an antithesis. Thesis and antithesis. The conflict is inevitable, but the resolution of the conflict yields something new, a synthesis, eliminating the flaws in each, leaving behind common elements and ideas. The bombs wiped the slate clean. Human civilization descended to a level of ignorance that effectively set our cultural progress back to zero. The NCR has all the problems of the ancient Roman Republic: extreme bureaucracy, corruption, extensive senatorial infighting. Just as with the ancient Republic, it is natural that a military force should conquer and transform the NCR into a military dictatorship. Thesis and antithesis. The Colorado River is my Rubicon. The NCR Council will be eradicated, but the new synthesis will change the Legion as well, from a basically nomadic army to a standing military force that protects its citizens and the power of its dictator. What else did you want to know? Do you want my opinion as a former citizen or future conqueror? Actually, my opinion's the same either way. As a young man, I was taught to venerate President Tandy of Shady Sands, the founding mother of the new California Republic. Did you know her presidency lasted 52 years? And that her father, Aradesh, was the Republic's first president? Does that sound like a democracy to you? Or a hereditary dictatorship? Because the council didn't dare oppose her. She was too popular. She had the people's love. So things ran smoothly, more or less. And as soon as she was gone, as soon as there really could be democracy, what happened then? Ever since losing its queen, the NCR has been weaker, more diffuse. Democracy has been its weakness, not its strength. Greed runs rampant. The government is corrupt, accepting bribes from Brahmin barons and landowners to the detriment of citizens. The NCR is a loose conglomerate of individuals looking out for themselves. It's lost virtue. No one cares about the collective, the greater good. It's not built to last. I'm just hastening the inevitable. Of course, the most powerful my legion has faced. Also the first to which I am ideologically opposed. Until now, every tribe I've conquered has been so backwards and stunted, enslavement has been a gift bestowed upon them. My conquest of the Mojave will be a glorious triumph, marking the transition of the Legion from a basically nomadic tribe to a genuine empire. Just as my namesake campaigned in Gaul before he crossed the Rubicon, so have I campaigned and will cross the Colorado. It's not going to happen again. That's all I have to say about it. Linnaeus is the greatest of my battlefield commanders. Some might call him a great man, but I'm not sure he qualifies. Once, he was the greatest warrior of the Hydebarks, a tribe of the Arizona. Maniacal in battle, Sometimes he'd ambush Legion patrols by himself. When after several months we found and surrounded the Hyde-Barks camp, their chieftain raised a banner of surrender. The warrior, who was not yet Linnaeus, went insane with rage. He struck down his chieftain and attacked his own tribe. He killed 15 before they brought him down. He didn't die, obviously. I had him tended to. He was maimed, most of his face torn off. It was days before he regained consciousness. When he did, I went to his bedside and showed him the helmet I'd had forged to cover his face. I said he could have it if he'd fight for me. He accepted, on condition that he be allowed to kill the surviving males of his tribe. I said, make it the adult males, and you have a deal. Linnaeus is savage. Savagely loyal, too, but only to me. He has no love for my Legion. But this has its uses. He has no attachment to his men, no compunction about battlefield losses. All he cares about is destroying the enemy. When another legatus or a centurion fails to achieve results, I send Linnaeus to make things right. His first step is to beat the failed commander to death in front of his assembled troops. Then he orders the ritual of decimatio. It means decimation, but in ancient Rome the word had a very specific meaning, a punishment for cowardice. The legionaries are lined up in ranks. Every 10th man steps forward and is beaten to death by his brothers. It instills a certain robust obedience. Yes, this time my legionaries will be more frightened of the commander behind them than the enemy before them. There will be no failure this time, no retreat, no years of gathering slaves and resources for another assault. With Linnaeus to drive the Legion forward, the dam will be taken. It will be our bridgehead across the Colorado. And I've heard it's a bad idea to tempt the wrath of Caesar. Change the subject. What else then?